links in the description. I'll start off by giving a trigger warning. This article is going to describe a murder in quite a lot of detail, and I'm going to read through the entire article. So it's probably going to go on for quite a while. And if you want to listen to someone read out an article, then that's what's going to happen. But it may be a little bit dry, so that you do have the link should you wish to read through that in your own good time. If you do like the topic, if you like the video, then please do have a look at some of the other videos that I'm posting pretty regularly. And with your like, your comment, your subscribe, and your share, I'll continue to post even more regularly. So let's have a look at the headline. Son, 23 years of age, killed his mother with a broken bottle, then gouged out her eyes on a country walk. And why did he do this? He did it because he thought she was a demon. A court hears. So this happened October 23rd last year in Oxfordshire, in the United Kingdom, England. So we're going to read through the full article as I say. A son killed his mother with a broken bottle before gouging out her eyes on a country walk because he thought she was a demon. Daniel O'Hara Wright, 23 years of age, suddenly turned on his mother, Carol, as they walked together at a National Trust beauty spot in Oxfordshire on October the 23rd last year. He told police he then removed her eyeballs because he did not want her looking at him. The murder accused allegedly fled the scene and ran across a woodland to a pond where he dumped personal belongings, including a jacket that had one of his mother's eyeballs in its pocket. O'Hara Wright is standing trial at Oxford Crown Court charged with murder. At the opening of the trial on Monday, jurors were shown a photograph of the mother and son taken just 2 days before Carol's death, in which they both looked happy together. Here's a couple of photos. This is of the area. Forensic investigators at Watlington Hill in Oxfordshire after Carol Wright's body was discovered at the National Trust estate. So this would be a very pleasant, beautiful place to have a nice country stroll with a family member. Police officers guard the scene of a cordoned off area in place at the beauty spot in Oxfordshire last year. Okay, so back to the article. However, O'Hara Wright allegedly then used a broken glass bottle and stick to murder his mother at the Wallington Hill National Trust estate. The court heard he then ran into a road and jumped on a passing motorist car before carjacking a horrified woman and forcing her to drive to the village of Christmas Common. So there's going to be a village called Christmas Common. Once they arrived at the village, O'Hara Wright jumped out of the car and ran across the countryside, somehow electrocuting himself to such a serious extent that his arm had to be amputated. Alan Blake, the prosecutor, detailed how the defendant went to break into a nearby farmhouse where occupants were enjoying a sauna. They found him naked and covered in blood inside their bathroom, and they called the police. Mr. Blake, the prosecutor, told the court Daniel had not been diagnosed with any mental disorder, but members of his family had observed some increasingly strange and erratic behavior. Here's a quote. At a point early in the walk, it appears that Daniel launched a ferocious attack on his mother and inflict fatal injuries upon her. He used sticks, a broken glass bottle, and his feet. Disturbingly, he also removed both her eyes. Mr. Blake, the prosecutor, also described how the defendant flung himself at a car as he attempted to flee the scene. while he also must have electrocuted himself and suffered injuries requiring his arm to be amputated. The court heard that O'Hara Wright found his way to Queenswood Farm, a detached house, and was able to enter unseen because its occupants were using their sauna. The prosecutor said it was some time before they eventually found O'Hara Wright in an upstairs bedroom. Mr. Blake, the prosecutor, added, he was naked and responded to officers' instructions to get on the floor, but it soon became apparent that he had multiple serious injuries. Here's a quote. One of the officers asked him if anyone else was hurt. Initially, he said nothing, but then he said, I've hurt my mum. At 7:45 that evening, O'Hara Wright was arrested on suspicion of murder. He responded calmly, saying, that's fine, I understand, before adding, it was kill or be killed. So the article continues, O'Hara Wright was subsequently taken to hospital where he was assessed and found to have sustained knife injuries to his throat and groin, believed to have been self-inflicted with a knife he had taken from the kitchen of the property. The defendant, who is being held in a secure hospital, will not be present throughout the trial. Jurors heard that while in hospital, O'Hara Wright has assaulted a police officer and attacked a nurse with a spoon before trying to stab himself. Two psychiatrists have separately examined the defendant and concluded that he could claim to have been insane at the time of the incident. Mr. Blake, the prosecutor, told the court that O'Hara Wright believed he himself was God. Okay, so the article continues. Dr. Kennedy, instructed by the defense, concluded that Daniel suffers from paranoid schizophrenia. His illness rapidly and catastrophically deteriorated over the course of a few hours prior to the offense. At the time of the killing, Daniel had described visual hallucination and paranoid delusions in which his mother transformed into a demon. He saw the change in her eyes. He then hit her with a bottle and smashed her face to remove her eyes so that she could not see him. In Dr. Kennedy's expert opinion, Daniel believed that he was defending himself against an attack by a satanic being rather than a human being, and he believed himself was a god. Forensic analysis of Carol's body found she was attacked with a broken glass bottle containing kombucha, a herbal drink that O'Hara Wright consumed in large quantities. Mr. Blake, the prosecutor, also said there was semen found on the jacket, which produced a DNA profile which matched that of Daniel. Although there is no evidence of vaginal rape, the account given by the defendant to psychiatrists about the killing suggests a sexual element formed part of his delusion. The jury was also told that O'Hara Wright felt it necessary to sexually dominate the demon who threatened him. A post-mortem examination revealed Carol died due to an acute upper airway obstruction, external neck compression, and blunt force injury to the head, neck, and chest. The obstruction of the upper airway was caused by an eyeball which had been pushed down into her throat. The other eyeball had been traumatically removed, while there was a crush injury to the rib cage, most likely caused by a stamping action. Miss Wright, Carol, the mother, also suffered a broken nose and cheekbone, while further sharp injuries were consistent with the use of broken glass. O'Hara Wright of Uxbridge, West London, denies murder. His defense is expected to argue that he was insane at the time of the events and not responsible for his actions. The trial continues. Okay, so again, there is a link in the description if you prefer to go through that yourself. I've been reading these true crime incidences for the last couple of months, this is a pretty horrendous one, in my opinion. Obviously, it's incredibly sad. Condolences rather, to the family concerned. A shocking way to die at the hands of your own son. A terrible, violent death. I'm gonna add also, which may be somewhat controversial. It is sad that the son was, seemingly, allegedly, suffering from such disturbing mental illness, such disturbing hallucinations, such disturbing delusions. Obviously, I don't know whether his claims or the defense claims of the defendant being insane are accurate or not, but based on this article, I would think, as a layman, I would think that he was insane, and it's kind of scary to think that, as the article mentioned, towards the latter part of the article, it mentioned that his paranoid schizophrenia took a hold of him rapidly. It developed rapidly in a matter of hours. If I'm understanding this correctly, that part scares me. He hadn't been diagnosed. So there'd been a recognition of erratic behavior by his close family in recent days, I think it said, prior to this incident, prior to the murder. But by and large, completely unexpected, which is pretty scary. So again, condolences to the family. It's a shocking death. It's a terrible situation. Obviously, we want to see justice. But I do think it's very fair to acknowledge that the accused, the defendant, in my opinion, again, as a layman, what do I know? Nothing, but it does seem he was completely mentally ill.